So remember, bacteria do not have organelles and things like that. So photosynthesis, photo meaning light, synthesis meaning making things. So this is using light to build food. It's making food with light. Happens in plants only. Now I am lying to you when I say plants only because some protists and bacteria can do it. And it happens in the organelle, the chloroplast. The chloroplast is one of your vocab terms from 8-4. It will be on the quiz and it will be on the test. So make sure you understand what the chloroplast is. All right, so yes?
So like doesn't happen to the eukaryote, it happens to the chloroplast?
It happens in the chloroplast in the eukaryote, yeah. So plants are eukaryotes, fungus are eukaryotes, animals are eukaryotes, and protists are eukaryotes. The only thing that is not eukaryotes are bacteria and archaea, and they are both prokaryotes. So eukaryotes is anything that has a nucleus and organelles. So it can't happen in a prokaryotes because prokaryotes don't have organelles, so they do not have a chloroplast. All right, so remember, photosynthesis is the exact opposite of cellular respiration. So what goes in then to photosynthesis if it's the exact opposite of cellular respiration equation-wise? Carbon dioxide does. I'm going to leave a little bit of a space because I want to keep it the same for all the classes. So carbon dioxide does. What else goes into photosynthesis? Water, good. So we have carbon dioxide and water. What else? There's one more thing. ATP does not, but what does ATP resemble? Energy. It represents the energy that is coming out of a cellular respiration system. And so the energy here, and for photosynthesis, the energy is in what form? Light. So the energy is light energy in photosynthesis, and it's potential energy in the form of ATP in cellular respiration. So those are the three things that goes into photosynthesis, and what comes out. What are the products of photosynthesis then? Sugar is one, and we're going to use the most simple form of sugar. You do not need to memorize this. So sugar and oxygen. Thank you. Sugar and oxygen. All right. And so that is the formula for this. The sugar can be used for three different things by the plant. And I call these the three S's. Number one, they can be used to build the plant's structure so the plant gets bigger, cellulose, things like that. The plant grows. Structure and storage, so it can store energy like starch and potatoes. And then the third S is cellular respiration.
Does cellular start with
Two S's and a C don't sound as nice as three S's, so they all make a S sound. So structure, storage, and cellular respiration. So those are the three things that the plant can do with that. And then animals can eat the plant, and then they can use the sugar in the plant for energy. All right, that's why plants are autotrophs, because they make their own food, and then they can eat their own food if they need to. If they need extra energy, they can burn their own food. Right? Because plants, remember, plants can do both cellular respiration and plants can do photosynthesis, whereas humans can only do cellular respiration. It'd be awesome if we can do photosynthesis. Mom, I'm feeling hungry. I'm going to go hang out on the beach. And just, okay, I'm full. Wouldn't that be awesome? No? No? All right, so based on this equation here, what type of reaction is this? Endo or exothermic? Is energy going into it or is it coming out? It's going into it, so is it endo or exothermic? No, remember, endo, enter. Exo, exit. That they come from the same roots. So endo, enter. Thermic, heat. Heat goes in, energy goes in. Exo, exit, heat goes out. So remember that cellular respiration is exothermic, endothermic is photosynthesis. So I'm going to draw kind of a cycle and show you guys how photosynthesis and cellular respiration kind of play a role in each other, how they kind of go into each other. So here on this side we have photosynthesis. We're going to call it chloroplasts. Okay? And plants or animals can do photosynthesis. Plants or animals do photosynthesis? Yep. Okay, and so what goes into photosynthesis is light and your two other products, which is carbon dioxide and water. And so this is endothermic because the energy is going in. And then what is coming out is my sugar and my oxygen. Okay, and then kind of show you it's a cycle. Cellular respiration, which happens in what organelle? Well, not all of it does, but a lot of it does. So we have cellular respiration. What organelle does cellular respiration take place in? Come on, you guys like saying it's catchphrase, but you don't remember what it's called. The mitochondria, yes, the mitochondria, because the mitochondria is the what?
Powerhouse of the cell.
Yes, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
That was burned into my brain.
Okay, so cellular respiration happens in the mitochondria. Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplasts. And so cellular respiration then makes the water and carbon dioxide, and the cycle goes on. The circle of life, feeds into each other. And now don't forget that cellular respiration is also exothermic. So what does it have to give off? Energy, and it's in the form of what? What is the energy in form of for ATP? ATP. All right, and cellular respiration, plants or animals? You're all right, because cellular respiration, plants or animals? Both. Both plants and aminals. Okay, so cellular respiration can happen from both. Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplasts only, and there we go. So that's how they feed into each other. We need photosynthesis to happen because oxygen is a very reactive compound, and so we need a constant supply of oxygen. Most of our oxygen comes from photosynthesis that is happening in plants and microscopic organisms in the oceans. Okay, if all those things all those autotrophs and producers went extinct, we would be gone in a couple days after that.
Oh. When we would literally be dead.
Yeah. Okay, so here's how photosynthesis occurs. So the last remaining part of this, we're going to do a little diagram, because photosynthesis takes place in 2 steps. All right, so just like last time, I'm going to take the remainder of my page. Does anybody need that cycle still? Are you guys still writing it? Some people still writing the cycle? Okay, I'll leave the cycle up there. All right, so what I'm going to do with my handy, and I'm going to grab a green pen. I gave all the other notes in the other periods in green. I want to use the green pen for a couple of parts for you guys, but not for all of them. I don't
Wait,
have
why are you
like,
recording?
so I can post this online if you want to rewatch it. When you're bored tonight, instead of watching your new YouTube videos or your TikToks, you can listen to Mr. Round give you the notes a couple more times.
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take this section right here and I'm going to divide it in 2 down the middle. Just a dotted line because I need to be able to see on both sides of it. And then I'm going to have a little bit of writing on the far left-hand side and a little bit of writing on the far right-hand side. So in the middle, in between that, about halfway down in that space, I'm going to draw my chloroplast. And this is my chloroplast. Okay. So cellular respiration, step number 1. Is called the light reactions. Okay, so this is a series of events including the electron transport chain. It's the same exact electron transport chain as cellular respiration, just run in reverse. All right, so we have our light reactions here, and these are also known as, AKA, the light dependent reactions. Okay, so what do you think this step needs? It needs light. So this is the step where the light comes in. So I'm going to draw my light as a lightning bolt. I don't know why, I just feel like it. We have my light coming in. Okay, this happens in the thylakoid. And this is a vocab term, so you do need to know it for the open note quiz on Tuesday, but you do not need to know it for the test. The thylakoids are these they look like a stack of plates. They're these stack-like structures in the chloroplast. So the only thing you need to know for the quiz, and you're going to have these notes available to you, and your glossary, the only thing you need to know is that the light reactions take place in the thylakoid. And so these thylakoids are green in color, and they look like a bunch of pancakes or plates stacked about, and they're all over. I'm going to leave the side mostly blank, but they really are all over the chloroplast, on the inside of the chloroplast. And so that's the thylakoid right there. And every thylakoid is doing these reactions, these light reactions. Okay, what happens in the thylakoid, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later, is another vocab term, chlorophyll. Hi, Phil. Chloro, by the way, is Greek for green. So chlorophyll absorbs light, or maybe it's Latin, but I think it's Greek. So what happens in the chlorophyll is it absorbs the light and it splits water. So what else is going in? We have light going in. What else do we have going in? We have water going in. So the first step is light and water, and out comes oxygen. And the energy behind that reaction is used to make ATP and NADPH. You do not need to know exactly what NADPH is. I just am telling you this because it's in all the diagrams. It's an energy-containing compound. So it's an energy-containing molecule similar to ATP, but not exactly the same. Okay, and so out of that thylakoid comes that ATP, comes the NADPH. What? No. Step number 1 is called the light reactions. What do you think we call step number 2? Yeah, they are called the dark reactions. So those are called the dark reactions. Although they're not always called the dark reactions, they're also often called the light independent reactions. So those are the light independent reactions. In most plants that we are familiar with, and you're going to see it in some of your diagrams. You don't need to have this memorized or anything, but it's called the Calvin cycle. And so what happens here is the ATP and the NADPH come in here, and they do a whole bunch of cyclical style reactions controlled by a bunch of enzymes. So this is step number 2 right here. This is step number 1 right here. And what else is coming in? What's the other reactant that we're missing? We have light, we have water. What's the last reactant? Carbon dioxide is the last reactant. And so light independent, like it does not need light. And it's in most plants, it's called the Calvin cycle. Okay, because there's different types of reactions they can do here. Different plants have evolved different strategies based on the amount of sunlight they get and the amount of water in their environment. So most of the plants that we are familiar with use the Calvin cycle, but there's a couple other cycles that are evolutionary adaptations for these plants. All right, and so what happens here is that energy that we got from the light reactions, the ATP and the NADPH, get used to combine that hydrogen with carbon dioxide to make our sugar, and then out comes ADP and NADP+, which then goes back into the thylakoid to do the next reaction. All right, and so that's step number 2. Now, step number 2 does not happen in these thylakoids. Step number 2 happens in the stroma. Once again, another vocabulary term that will be on the quiz, and you're expected to be able to find in your notes or your glossaries, but not to be memorized. The stroma is the liquid portion of the chloroplast. Okay, and so right there, the liquid portion of the chloroplast is where that happens. So instead of 3 steps for cellular respiration, we only have 2. You have a first step, which is light combining with water to make oxygen and energy, which then drive the dark reactions, the light independent reactions, which is what's the most important part, carbon dioxide turning into sugar, and then that sugar gets used to either build the plant, remember the 3 S's, structure, storage, or cellular respiration. What are you looking at me like that for? Or cellular respiration. Or cellular respiration. So 2 S's and a C don't sound good. So.
Okay, then why don't you just call it like
C and 2 S's.
CSS, because that's already taken.
Or like
Is that-
SCS.
All right, so happens in the stroma, which is the liquid portion of the chloroplast. And the last thing right here is, this is called, right here, that's called, I don't want to draw an arrow there because that's going to confuse you. This thing right here is called carbon fixation. And carbon fixation is when you remove carbon, especially carbon dioxide, from the air and turn it into a fixed form. Fixed means like a solid usually. So fixed means it can go in one place. So we're turning carbon dioxide of the air into sugar, and so that's no longer in the air. Now this is important, climate change, things like that, greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide is one of the leading contributors to global warming and climate change due to the fact that it has a very, very long half-life and we are producing so much of it. All right, and so naturally, plants do remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and this is one of the mitigation strategies in the battle against climate change, is to plant more plants, to plant more trees, to replace plants that are don't do a lot of photosynthesis with plants that do a lot of photosynthesis. For example, grasses, they fix a lot of carbon compared to like certain trees. And so that can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. They also give us all of the oxygen that we need to breathe. Photosynthesis gives us all the oxygen that we need to breathe. All right, so that's the photosynthesis notes. We have one more thing to talk about. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a pigment. What color is chlorophyll? Green. Yeah. Chlorophyll is a green pigment. All right, so chlorophyll is green. Pigments are things that give things colors. So chlorophyll is green. That makes the thylakoids green, which makes the chloroplast green.
Wait, why isn't there an E for thylakoid?
What?
It says thylakoid.
Thylakoid. T-H-Y?
No, the green one up there. It says thylakoid.
Oh, you're right. Thylakoid. All right. Makes chloroplasts green. And that makes your plants green. So let's talk a little bit about physics now. What do I need in order to see a green leaf? I need eyes. Obvi.
Yeah, that's a great eye instrument.
Okay. So I need my eyes, and then what else do you need?
You need nerves. Your
You need a brain. So we got our brain, right?
no, your thingamabobbers.
Your optical receptors going to the brain, and the brain thinks about it. I need a nervous system, yeah. So there's my optical nerve, there's my brain, there's my eye. What else do you need though?
The things that don't make you colorblind.
The rods and the cones, they're right back here. What else do you need in order to see? If I have working eyes, functioning eyes, there's still times I can't see because I don't have what? Light. You also need light. So you need a yeah. So you also need light, and the major source of light is either artificial lights or the sun, right? And the sun shines light. What color is the light that comes from the sun and from these? No, not yellow. White. So white light comes from the sun and it shines and everything, and then I see them, right? But why doesn't everything look white? By the way, what colors is white made of?
Ultraviolet rays.
Nope.
Infrared.
What are the colors that make up white? The colors of the rainbow. Yeah. I like Roy G. Biv better than Roy G. Biv. So you have all the colors of light coming out of the sun, or the lights in a classroom. All the colors of light are coming out. But why don't I see things that are white? So let's say I see a leaf. So that light, what happens is the light, okay? So the light looks green to me, which means what color of light is getting to my eye?
The green.
The green, right? So the green light gets to my eye. So what does it mean about my plant? What does it mean about the chlorophyll inside the plant?
That it has 5 glowing.
Where did all the rest of the colors go? Into the plant. So what happens is the light hits the plant and the plant absorbs everything. It absorbs everything but green. And so that's why it looks green to me. So like
Wait, so that includes like even like your water bottle. Like,
so my water bottle is black, right? My water bottle is black. So what is happening for the most part is the light is hitting my water bottle, and my water bottle is absorbing all of the light. Maybe not all, because you still see shininess and there's some white areas to it and gray areas to it, but it's absorbing most of the light that hits it. If you are wearing a white shirt or the white paper here, the white light is hitting the paper and all of the colors are bouncing off of it back to your eyes.